Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot, and today I'm going to show you some typical mistakes of Boeing pilots who are flying Airbuses in the simulator over here. Alright, let's start with number one, and this happens when we are aligning the AIRS. So we've selected the mode selectors all to nav, and now we've got to enter the IRS position, do we? Well, no. And here's the reason why. If you are on the init page, we have just about uplinked our route. Now we go to the IRS init page. But, contrary to the Boeing, where you need to insert the IRS position, on the Airbus you don't do that. If you click the Align on Reference button, it would align the IRS onto the airport reference coordinates, which typically are not located at the gate where you currently are, but somewhere along the maneuvering area of the airport. Therefore, do not click the Align on Reference button, otherwise your AIRS is going to be aligned for an incorrect position. However, if you do not click the Align on Ref button, then the IRS is going to align to the GPS position, which is the reason why you have it here in the second line. So if you just don't click the Align on Reference button, then that is the correct thing to do in the Airbus. It will align the IRS to the GPS position and not to some other position. And that, by the way, leads us directly to step number 2, which is checking the IRS position after the IRS has aligned, but I'm going to show you that in a few moments once the IRS is actually finished. The IRS has now fully aligned, and as part of the pre-flight checklist we are going to check the IRS mode selectors, right? Well, no. The before start checklist does actually make us check the IRS, and it wants to see that it is a nav, but not on the selector panel up here. Instead, we are not looking at the switches, but we are looking on the data page, and then you go to position monitor, and down here you are looking for the nav indication of the 3 IRSs. And this, by the way, also equals the previous point that we talked about, in that over here you see 0.0 behind the nav, and that is the difference from the IRS predicted position to the FMS predicted position. So if this shows 0, it means the IRS is at the position where it is, well, where the airplane actually is. But if there is something higher than this written, then chances are that on the alignment process you have clicked that Align on Reference button and therefore aligned the IRS to the airport reference point and not to the present position of the aircraft. So that's the 2 things you're checking for over there, which for a Boeing pilot might not be very natural, since in the Boeing we simply look at the IRS mode selectors. And that leads us straight away to point number 3, and that is, when do you turn on the fuel pumps in the Airbus? Well, in the Boeing you would simply turn the fuel pumps on in the pre-flight procedure, and that's it. It doesn't matter what state the airplane is currently in. In the Airbus that's a little bit different. You are going to leave the fuel pumps off, as you actually turn them off in the shutdown procedure, and you are going to leave them off until the refueling is completed. So basically looking at the engine warning display, once there is no more refueling in progress written over here, that is the point where you are first of all going to turn on the fasten seatbelt signs, and secondly you are going to switch on the fuel pumps. Point number 4, and it is right up here, the pack flow low, normal and high selector. In the Boeing we also have a pack flow high and an auto position, and of course an off position. However, in the Airbus, on top of the auto and off positions, you also have this pack flow selector up here. So what is that actually used for? Well, as a Boeing pilot I'd be inclined simply to leave it in the normal position. However, that is not quite correct. According to the Airbus AFCOM normal procedures, the low position is normally selected if less than 115 passengers are expected in the Airbus A320. Normal is selected if 115 or more passengers are expected, and the high mode is used when it is abnormally hot and humid outside. So That's how you actually use this little switch up there. Let's now come to the fifth and last point of this video, and that is the stabilizer trim. As a Boeing pilot, we always refer to our stabilizer trim in units. So for example, we might be using a stabilizer trim of 5.6 units for our takeoff. In the AIRBUS, things do work a little bit differently. So we have just calculated this takeoff data over here, and we have a trimmable horizontal stabilizer of 0.3 down. So of course you would go ahead and say trim 0.3 down, something of the likes, right? Well, not quite. And here's how it actually works. In the load sheet we have our mean aerodynamic chord for the takeoff weight, 30.1. So that is our actual center of gravity position for the takeoff. And 30.1 can actually be read down here on the trim wheel. So as you can see, our 0.3 down trim, which would be roughly about here, actually equals the CG 30 position. So in the AIRBUS, when the checklist asks for the stabilizer trim, you wouldn't say down 0.3, but you would say that it is set 30%. Alright, and that concludes our little AIRBUS video today. I'm sure there will be more as I'm digging more into the AIRBUS A320, but this is the first 5 items that I came across that really weren't obvious to me as a Boeing pilot, and that I am learning now that I'm learning the AIRBUS. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and if you did, then do let me know in the comments below if you knew all of this before, or if that was something new to you as well. I would like to thank you very much for joining. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one. As always, if you want to support the channel, you can do that using the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below, or by becoming a channel member, which is going to give you exclusive early access to new videos before they're released for everyone else. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again soon.